Welcome to Cinema Chop Shop. Watch, chop, retrofit.
Alright, so you guys are aware of this sphere
Yeah,
Las Vegas.
in Vegas.
I think that it, right now, is like
I've never been.
I haven't either, but that's my question. If you could see any musical act, living or dead, at the sphere, who would it be? And
Pink Floyd.
Maybe
Yes.
we presume that
With Roger
it's gonna
Waters.
cost an astronomical amount.
Yeah.
It would have to be somebody that was going to have like all like a immersive type stage show.
correct.
Pink Floyd,
Pink Floyd
definitely
would be good.
Flaming Lips have a good immersive show, although you can see them at
We are all getting to AARP age now, so
Yeah.
yes, that wouldn't shock me.
I might go with a living lineup of the Beatles. That would be pretty cool just to see them all together. Grateful Dead with Jerry would be fun.
Oh, we're talking like hypothetical.
So we can
Yeah,
we can use
hypothetical.
dead people.
Living or
okay.
dead.
Yeah.
I would still say Pink Floyd
I'd still go with Pink
with
Floyd.
Roger Waters.
Yeah.
But
What
Roger
about with
Waters
Sid
has to
Barrett?
join.
I'm
No
not
Sid
the biggest
Barrett,
Sid
okay.
Barrett, no.
Because they were their most psychedelic with Sid Barrett.
Yeah, but they were their most big stage production-y like
Uh-huh.
later on, I think.
Cool.
But this isn't a rock concert podcast.
Nope.
It's Cinema Chop Shop. It's a movie podcast. And we're back after a longer hiatus than normal, but it's because we wanted to wait for this very specific episode to happen at this very specific time. We're right in the heart of March Madness with the NCAA basketball. And it's time to do a bracket. Unfortunately, it's for the recently departed Robert Duvall.
Rest in power.
Indeed. So if you haven't ever heard one of our best of bracket episodes, the way we run this is that we do a 16 movie bracket ranked according to Rotten Tomatoes scores just to keep it fair and balanced in terms of how these are arranged. And we pit them against each other 1 through 16 like you do at a basketball bracket and talk about the films and how they pertain to the subject of the episode, which is, of course, Robert Duvall. Not Robert Altman, not Robert Redford.
I'll try not to say Robert Altman, as I have been repeatedly over the last couple of weeks.
By the way, I'm your host, Shawn, and I'm joined by Joey Poole,
Hello.
Todd,
Howdy.
and Travis Cito.
Robert Duvaltman.
There you
Yes,
go.
there you go.
Nailed it. In the event of a tie, my lovely wife, Allie, may be joining us to help be a tiebreaker. She's not necessarily prepared for the episode. She will be basing her tiebreaker based solely on our arguments.
If she's not here, we should call her.
We can call her. But if she's not here, for at least for the first round, I have AI participated in this bracket along with me.
Okay.
So we will default to its pick and its logic. And for the sake of that, we used Gemini.
I was going to ask, Gemini, okay.
I was going to see if maybe we could get a Ouija board and see if we could contact Robert Duvall himself.
Robert
for
and see what he said?
Yeah. That'd be an interesting idea for an episode, yeah.
Sure. Joey, I feel you pushing it. Stop.
As long as we do it at your house and not
Surprisingly, because Joey,
might go viral
Joey,
if we play our-
historically doesn't fuck with that devil shit.
Yeah.
That's right. Joey has a really strong feeling about the devil.
I'm a good little non-believer now, but I will cop to. I would be a little bit nervous to fuck around with a Ouija board.
Yeah.
It makes no logical sense. I don't quote unquote believe it, but I would.
Sean
be
would be the
nervous.
dogged skeptic that you have to have in those scenarios with a seance or a Ouija
God.
board scene.
I won't even order 3 Bloody Marys.
The films that we're going to be discussing today for this episode, and this is again according to Rotten Tomatoes rankings, our number 1 seed with a 100% Rotten Tomatoes score will be the film Rambling Rose.
What surprise number 1 for me? I don't think I think I was only vaguely aware of this movie going in.
It's going to be going head to head with the number 16 seed True Confession with a 71%.
I think it is a little surprising that Ramblin' Rose has 100%.
I know,
on
me
Rotten
too.
Tomatoes,
I was
considering
shocked.
What we know about the movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rambling Rose, 1991, directed by Martha Coolidge, starring Laura Dern, Robert Duvall, Diane Ladd, Lucas Haas, and John Hurd. Set in the 1930s, Deep South, a free-spirited young woman named Rose is taken in by the Hillier family. Her uninhibited sexuality throws the polite household into a state of moral and emotional upheaval. Robert Duvall plays the disciplined patriarch Daddy Hillier. God, that's interesting to call him Daddy. who must navigate his own repressed feelings while managing the chaos Rose brings to the family.
Do you want the fun fact after we do the synopsis?
Sure.
All right, so Rambling Rose. First, I also wanted to mention that this is Laura Dern's second horniest performance after Wild at Heart. That's the David Lynch one, right? Wild at Heart?
It is, but I was also going to throw in the one with Treat Williams.
What's that?
Smooth Talk.
Oh,
or
I don't know
Smooth
that.
Talking.
But Diane
She was a
Ladd
horny actress.
and Laura Dern, their Oscar nominations marked the first time a mother and daughter ever received such an accolade for appearing in the same film. The only other time that a parent and child received acting nominations for the same film was when, anybody want to guess?
Paper Moon?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
It's, guys?
No, drawing a blank.
Henry Fonda and Jane Fonda for On
Golden Pond. That
Yes.
makes sense.
All right, so what's that going up against?
It's going up against True Confessions from 1981, directed by Ulu Grossbard.
Cool name.
Starring
Grossbard.
You're a Grossbard. Starring Robert De Niro, Robert Duvall, Charles Durning, Cyril Cusack, and Burgess Meredith. A post-World War II Los Angeles features two brothers, one a pragmatic detective and the other an ambitious Catholic priest. They find their lives intersecting during a gruesome murder investigation. As the case uncovers deep-seated corruption within both the police force and the church, the brothers are forced to confront the conflicting loyalties. Duvall plays Tom Spalacy, the gritty, cynical detective whose investigation threatens his brother's career.
To prepare for his role as Detective Tom Spalacy, Robert Duvall went on the night beat with real-life Los Angeles area homicide detectives. Duvall also went on a stakeout, witnessed the administration of a lie detector test, and visited a real murder victim crime scene.
All right, the floor is open. Let's talk
So
about
I
them.
saw this one maybe 10 years ago, so I'm kind of going off my memory of it at the
Which
time.
one, True Confessions?
True Confessions,
Okay.
yeah, sorry. Because I am a big noir fan, neo-noir, which, by the way, a lot of European directors seem to have been very fond of the noir genre, and oftentimes are the directors of these neo-noir 80s, 90s types movies, if you kind of look into it. But regardless, I remember I ran across kind of a blurb from Roger Ebert's review that I sort of agreed with, which I thought the performances were very good, but that the movie itself was perhaps a little too on the nose in terms of its genre fondness, which you could tell the director was a fan of these kinds of movies. And also just the storytelling and genering it just felt a little flat, but the performances I thought were good as memory serves. So that was kind of my...
Joey, what are your thoughts?
I actually watched this one probably 4 or 5 years ago for one of our neo-noir-ish episodes, I believe. And I didn't actually use it as my film for that episode, but I watched it and decided not to because I didn't really I wasn't really that into it.
Yeah.
After the first 5 minutes of Ramblin' Rose, I was ready to declare an upset because John Hurt's accent is fucking... Now, I don't have anything against John Hurt, but it's like fucking awful. Like one of those like honey dripping southern accents that nobody talks that way.
I do declare.
Yeah, but after that, this movie kind of came into focus for me. I like Robert Duvall's character in this because you're just sure that, okay, this is going to slide. He's going to be a creeper.
He's going to give in to temptation.
He's going to be just one more dude who's taking advantage of Rose in her, sad life. But he isn't. But he's a human being. He's very much tempted, but he ends up, doing the right thing and
he has sort of the bigoted views that you would expect a man of his era and time to have. So he's wrestling with all that. His wife is sort of the conscience of the movie, which in some ways is a little bit of a flaw in the movie, I think.
And this movie also it comes on like it's going to be like a Hallmark type film.
Oh,
and
God,
then it swerves into some weird shit.
Yeah, it takes a hard right at about the 15-20 minute mark when things get sexual in many fronts. Not to give away too much, but go back and listen to our Laura Dern episode.
Yeah, there's some shit that wouldn't fly today.
Oh, God, yeah.
Travis said he was
Imagine being a fly on the wall during the scene between Lucas Haas, who was, I think, 15 years old at the time. He's 13. This character's 13. He's 15 years old and has a scene where he's feeling up Laura Dern and
That fly be
bringing her to orgasm at one point. So probably not something that would be done today.
No.
But his hand was still wet when he was high-fiving the crew right after that scene.
Oh man!
Like Travis said earlier, you can't believe this one had 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I can't either because you'd think that some people would really take umbrage at some of the subject matter just because it is a little bit on the nose. But I think it's a good movie as a character sketch of Rose herself. It's great. It's true to its time, and it's progressive, but we're not too preachy about it. This one to me, Ramblin' Rose all the way.
I'm also going with Ramblin'.
Yeah, I'm
Ramblin'
on
Rose.
Ramblin' Rose. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So the second that we're going to be talking about will be the number 9 seed and the number 8 seed. We've got The Paper from 1994 versus The Rain People from 1969. The Paper, with an 86% Rotten Tomatoes, was directed by Ron Howard, starring Michael Keaton, Glenn Close, Marissa Tomei, Randy Quaid, and Robert Duvall. The fast-paced comedy drama chronicles a frantic 24-hour period at a New York City tabloid newspaper, back when those were relevant. Amidst personal crises and corporate pressure, the staff races to uncover the truth behind a sensational murder case before the morning edition hits the stands. Duvall plays Bernie White, the world-weary editor-in-chief, struggling with health issues and the changing landscape of journalism.
The New York Sentinel, the name of the paper, it's sort of an in-joke between screenwriters David and Stephen Cope. I guess they're brothers. It's loosely based on the real New York Times newspaper, for one, and the other is the horror film The Sentinel from 1977, which was also shot in New York City.
And that's going up against The Rain People from 1969. It's got an 88% Rotten Tomatoes score. It was directed by Francis Ford Coppola, starring Shirley Knight, James Caan, Robert Duvall, Maria Zimmett, and Tom Aldridge. Feeling trapped by her marriage, a Long Island housewife suddenly flees her home on a cross-country road trip to find herself. Along the way, she picks up a brain-damaged former football player and encounters various lost souls who challenge her understanding of freedom. Duvall appears as a lonely, somewhat threatening motorcycle policeman whose encounter with the woman highlights the film's themes of isolation.
In The Rain People, the parade scene was filmed in Chattanooga, Tennessee on Memorial Day. The students in the band were not aware of what was happening. In fact, reading the lips of a majorette, she can be seen asking, "Who was that guy?" as James Caan was weaving through the parade.
This is the 8-9 matchup?
Yeah.
Okay. We just watched an 8-9 matchup last night in the real basketball tournament between our beloved Clemson Tigers and Iowa, and it was a painful game to watch.
And
we shot like 30% from the floor. This is that same kind of matchup.
Exactly. This is a deeply. These are two teams that have some good things about them, but deeply flawed.
Here's my logic.
Lots of bricks.
The Paper has all of the parts in place. It's star-studded. I mean, Glenn Close, Michael Keaton, Robert Duvall actually plays a pretty big role in it, unlike some of these movies. For me, it wants to be this kind of like satire of the news business and whatnot, and it is, and to some degree it's successful in that. But for me, I just had a hard time caring about anybody or anything in this movie for whatever reason. Maybe it's just Ron Howard's touch, which I'm not really, into him, or whatever. Not a horrible film, but I just had a hard time caring. Rain People is also kind of frustrating because we spent, my wife and I watched this together, we spent most of the movie being like, "Girl, turn around and go home."
Yeah.
And if you make two progressive people say, "I think it's better if you go home now," that's that's not a good sign.
And James Caan steals the show in this one. This is his movie.
His Lenny character. I mean,
That's exactly what I thought. It was like of Mice and Men. Exactly.
But this is a good, interesting case study to get out of the way earlier because like a lot of movies in this bracket, Duvall's not in it until he's not very present.
He's in it the last
like
30
minutes,
minutes or so. He's
now he has a very pivotal role and he's good in it. So as a Robert Duvall movie, I think The Paper is better. But I'm going with Rain People because I do think it's a better film. And Duvall, this is a Robert Duvall bracket. He has an actual limited but important part in it. I think The Rain People in a anticlimactic,
frustrating
buzzer beater.
Yeah. So you're saying that even though he has more screen time in The Paper, the limited screen time he has in The Rain People is more impactful?
And The Rain People is a better movie despite
quality
its
overall
flaws as well. Yeah.
Yeah, the paper very badly wants to be like a movie that we'll talk about later.
It wants to be a Robert Altman movie.
Yep, exactly. Yes. Or even something like, I think a movie that came out around the same time, which was a Broadcast News, the album, which is a really good movie too. It's got the ingredients there. It's not a terrible movie.
Yeah, it's
but
fine.
As Joey said, you just don't particularly care about the story. You recognize, if you're a film buff, the beats that it wants to hit and the influences that it wants to emulate.
Yeah.
And so that's the problem with it. So similarly, Francis Ford Coppola's The Rain People, which I had never even heard of, deeply flawed. The ending, at the end, we see a scene that I think it goes for the melodrama in a movie that is not. It has a melodramatic ending that I don't really fits the material. Mm-hmm. And so, therefore, it seems kind of abrupt and doesn't really tie anything up. Not that I expect all the loose ends to be tied up, but thematically, it leaves kind of some loose ends. And so, but nevertheless, I do think it's a more interesting movie, a more interesting Altman role as well, even though he's in the paper more. So I'm going to go with The Rain People as well.
I think I'm the outlier here. I like the paper on this one. My family had this movie on VHS, so I've seen it lots of times.
Oh.
And I find it to be a more feel-good movie than The Rain People. Rain People's kind of depressing.
Well, certainly.
So I'm simply based on that, I'm going with the paper.
I enjoyed the paper more than I thought I would. It was Ron Howard taking some risks as a director. There were some interesting things that I found to be unexpected. At the end of the day, I think I like The Rain People better. I like the menace that Robert Duvall brings to the table without going over the top with it.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of menace you feel with authority figures that can abuse their power but may not necessarily overtly abuse their power.
Right.
And then things do kind of get uncomfortable in his scenes with her. So
yeah, because that is interesting, because he doesn't, do the, like, he doesn't make her, he doesn't feel her up while he's talking to her. But he's you can see
There's the implication,
the mental game, the intimidation that he's sort of putting in there.
So we're gonna put through The Rain People.
And just like in real life, my bracket is busted.
Mine was busted after the first tip-off this time around.
Damn.
All right, this is number 5, Crazy Heart versus The Natural.
This one's tough.
This is a tough one.
So Crazy Heart, 2009, 90% Rotten Tomatoes, directed by Scott Cooper, starring Jeff Bridges, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Robert Duvall, Colin Farrell, and Paul Herman. Bad Blake is a faded country music star living a nomadic life of dive bars and heavy drinking until a young journalist looks for the man behind the music. Their unlikely romance sparks a difficult path toward the redemption and sobriety for the aging musician. Duvall plays Wayne, Bad's longtime friend and confidant, who provides the steady emotional support needed for him to reclaim his life.
Before I get to the fun fact, I just want to say that this movie is like a sliding doors of a movie we're going to talk about later if the main character had not gotten his shit together. Crazy Heart. Oh, this is fun. Before acting, Colin Farrell was a professional country line dancer and instructor in Dublin, Ireland.
Interesting.
That makes so much sense.
Yep.
It's going against The Natural, 1984, 83%, directed by Barry Levinson, Robert Redford, and Robert Duvall, Glenn Close, Kim Basinger, and Wilford Brimley. Roy Hobbs is a middle-aged baseball prodigy who finally gets a shot at the major leagues years after a mysterious tragedy derailed his career. Armed with the magic bat and legendary talent, he leads a struggling team toward the pennant while battling corruption and his own past. Duvall plays Max Mercy, a cynical sports journalist determined to uncover the secrets of Hobbs' missing years.
The bat that Bat Boy Bobby Savoy gives Roy is called the Savoy Special. The Savoy Special was a brand of beer in the 1930s and was made by the United States Brewing Company. The bat is now in the collection of the National Baseball Hall of Fame in an exhibit entitled Baseball and the Movies.
So this was a difficult category for multiple reasons. First off, just the quality of the films. But then also, the tiebreaker I would typically use here would be, which is the more substantial Altman film? And in both movies,
Robert Duvall.
Duvall. I did it.
Yes.
Self-fulfilling
Duvall.
prophecy.
Count it.
I knew it. Drink. Anyway, but in both cases, though, Duvall has very small parts in these movies, which makes it harder to suss out. Crazy Heart I had actually never seen before. it just kind of slipped through the cracks back in the day. I really loved it.
It's good.
Just really good. Heartwarming in a lot of ways. Film. The relationship between Maggie Gyllenhaal and the main character, who's
the dude,
Jeff Bridges.
The dude, Jeff Bridges. Yeah.
Bad.
His name is Bad.
Bad, right? That's it. That's what I was trying to think of, was the adjective that he went by. Wasn't really cringy, even though it could have been. Usually it's like, oh, okay, here's the typical thing where the old guy with the younger woman. But Duvall, of course, has a very tiny role in this.
5 scenes.
Yeah, as the sponsor essentially for the Jeff Bridges character, who's an alcoholic. I think I'm going to have to go with the natural for that reason, even though his part is smaller even though his part is somewhat equally as small, it's a little bit bigger, and I would say a bit more pivotal, and a bit more juicy in that he gets to play the sort of amoral sportscaster who's plays a very important role in The Natural, because he represents one of the themes, which is that we build up our heroes to tear them down. And so to me, that's kind of the tiebreaker, is that the Robert Duvall role is juicier, more important, so I'm going to go with The Natural.
And in The Natural, his character is the device that the movie uses to reveal information about Roy Hobbs' past.
Right.
It's essential to the movie.
Correct.
We talked about The Natural on, I guess, a baseball movie.
Yeah, it's a baseball episode.
And I was a little bit surprised that I was the most adamant Natural fan here. I had never seen it until I watched it for that podcast.
Joey loves big naturals.
And I do. Yeah, I do. I can't lie. And I love this movie, making, kind of Greek mythology take on America's mythology and baseball, mid-century mythology, 20th century mythology. I love The Natural, but I watched Crazy Heart recently, and there was a tear in my beer. And it's a great, great movie. Jeff Bridges earned his only Oscar win for this film, earned it all the way. So the two movies are, I think, equal in my eyes. Robert Duvall's character is very small in Crazy Heart, and not particularly important. I mean, he does kind of help Bad sober up a little bit.
And I'm kind of, even if we're talking about it, I'm having trouble conjuring up like a memorable moment.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to go with The Natural here, although I love Crazy Heart, and I think that it could make a run if it were in a different spot in the bracket.
And would make a good companion piece with a movie we'll talk about later, Tender Mercies.
Absolutely. I mean,
100%.
His role is described as almost a cameo, which is just strictly a callback to Tender Mercies. I'm with you. I think The Natural is the winner in this one.
Same.
So we'll move on.
Nothing against Crazy Heart. I love
Crazy
Heart.
Heart's
Exactly.
It's good. It's just
but the Robert Duvall character is what we have to look at.
As a Robert Duvall movie. Sure.
He went fly fishing.
Yeah.
But even still, you don't. When you think of The Natural, you don't think of it as a Robert Duvall film. I don't.
No,
but
he does play a pretty big part, like you said.
Yeah,
he's like kind of the storyteller.
Correct.
It's just interesting that even in 80 whatever, when The Natural came out, Robert Duvall was an old man compared to Robert Redford, who was supposed to be an aging athlete. But then eventually they both lived very, very long, but Robert Redford died before Robert Duvall.
He reads old man in 1969's The Rain People.
Yeah, we've
Well,
always made jokes about that Duvall has always looked like an older guy.
Yep.
Well, Robert Redford was almost 50 years old when he played Roy Hobbs.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, so we'll jump into our next one, which is going to be Tender Mercies versus Apocalypse Now.
Oh, this is the one that I'm not looking forward to.
All right.
Yeah, it is
So,
a tough one.
Tender Mercies, 1983, 82% on Rotten Tomatoes. Bruce Beresford, starring Robert Duvall, Tess Harper, Betty Buckley, Wilford Brimley, and Ellen Barkin. Max Sledge, a washed-up alcoholic country singer, finds a chance at a new life through the kindness of a widowed motel owner and her young son. He slowly rebuilds his self-respect and finds solace in his new family, even as his past fame threatens to pull him back into old habits. Duvall's understated performance as Mac earned him the Academy Award for Best Actor.
Alan Hubbard, who plays the boy Sonny, had his 10th birthday shortly after the film was wrapped and was preparing to celebrate it with his family at his home in Paris, Texas, when he was pleasantly surprised by Robert Duvall, who showed up at his house and gifted him with a guitar for the occasion. Hubbard, who went on to teach guitar professionally, still owns that guitar.
That's so cool. It's going against Apocalypse Now from 1979, 91% Rotten Tomatoes, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Marlon Brando, Robert Duvall, Martin Sheen, Frederick Forrest, Albert Hall, and others, and many, many others in smaller roles. During the Vietnam War, Captain Willard is sent on a dangerous mission upriver to Cambodia to assassinate a rogue Green Beret colonel who has set himself up as a god. As the journey progresses, the crew descends into a surreal landscape of madness and moral decay. Duvall delivers an iconic performance as Lieutenant Colonel Kilgore, a self-obsessed commander who famously loves the smell of napalm in the morning.
Yes.
And that line is one that sticks with people, even though it's such a small part.
Yeah.
Apocalypse Now, the canteen scene with Lieutenant Colonel Kilgore and the wounded Viet Cong is based on an actual wounded VC fighter who fought while keeping his entrails strapped to his belly in an enameled cooking pot. Ugh. The incident was documented by the photojournalist Philip Jones Griffiths. The real-life U.S. soldier was quoted as saying, quote, "Any soldier who can fight for 3 days with his insides out can drink from my canteen anytime."
You've got an Oscar-winning performance pitted against probably the most iconic role, even though it's not the biggest role in Apocalypse
this movie.
Now.
And that's the line that everyone remembers from that movie. I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
And I think it
smells like victory.
It kind of crystallizes a lot of Robert Duvall's roles that morsel that he gets, he really takes full advantage of it. And
in a movie with other heavy hitters.
Yeah, I mean, coming in as Big Duke, it's such a cartoon character, but it also speaks to the madness and
he's the one that makes it,
would
because
you say
the whole
that it
scene
speaks
is
to
just
the
wacky.
horror?
The horror.
That whole scene is just wacky with the surfing, and then he gets annoyed because they're disrupting the surfing and all this stuff, and he's the one that makes that scene work. Another actor, it is just sort of a comic book, absurdity.
And
he manages to make he has just such a naturalistic approach.
And Robert Duvall's listed as 5'10", but he plays that role like a 6'5". That's a testament to his acting ability. But I think Tender Mercies is an exquisite film.
I agree.
Love Tender Mercies.
I thought it was awesome.
I also, as his performance goes, it's one of the few films where Robert Duvall affects an accent that is a little bit outside of his natural speaking voice. He kind of has almost this Arkansas twang to it, a little nasally.
And speaking of his voice, he did his own singing in the film
sang,
and wrote some of those songs himself. And we touched on it a little bit.
I'm smelling upset.
His character, if he hypothetically had not gotten sober, would have become the bad black character from Crazy Heart.
Yeah.
I'm going Tender Mercies all the way.
Same.
I was prepared to go Tender Mercies as the lone, because only reason I was going to vote for it was because I thought that all you guys would take Apocalypse Now. I love Tender Mercies.
It's so good. In my review, I said that it reminded me of Paris, Texas, and then just now reading that fun fact, the kid was from Paris, Texas.
This kind of windswept sort of, I'm going Tender Mercies too.
You guys are incorrect because Tender Mercies is a wonderful movie.
Yes.
I loved it. I'd never seen it, but even on every level, as the overall movie, Apocalypse Now is one of the greatest movies ever made. Tender Mercies is a very good movie, but it's not that. Also, the Duvall character, even though he is not in the film as much, that is the iconic, if you were going to put a quote from one of his films on his gravestone, it would be the one he delivers from Apocalypse Now. And it's not just because it's a great line, it's because it's the one that, he sells it. So I just think as a Duvall, if we're thinking about this as Duvall-centric, we have to go with Apocalypse Now, but we're not. And I accept it because I do love Tender Mercies, so...
I think that Gus McRae in Lonesome Dove is a more iconic role for Robert Duvall, but it did not qualify.
That's the one that I
this
think
bracket.
of.
I loved Lonesome Dove too, so he would probably say goodbye to you, my good friend.
And I don't want to get too far down this rabbit hole.
Probably
but
be a better line, but
my
for
feelings about
Stone,
Apocalypse Now changed a little bit after my feelings about Heart of Darkness changed a little bit, because it's based on Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, but it's transposed from the Belgian Congo to the Vietnam War. And I loved Heart of Darkness when I first read it as a teenager, and then I saw Apocalypse Now, and I loved Apocalypse Now for the same reason. But like now that I see Heart of Darkness differently, from like a post-colonial kind of lens, I don't know that the statement that Apocalypse Now is using that book to make about Vietnam.
Well, I agree with you about the Heart of Darkness, but I don't think that Francis Ford Coppola takes the angle that I think that you're referring to. I don't think he's positive with the colonialism at all.
But back to Robert Duvall. We're going to push Tender Mercies through to the next round.
Okay. I mean, he won the Oscar. It's the only movie he won the Oscar for. So,
and unlike a lot of movies on this bracket, this is very much his
movie. There's another one coming up in the second half of the show. We're going to take an intermission, though, and take a break and go pee in the yard and all that business. But not before we say, let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby
and get ourselves some Duvalmond joy.
Ooh. I was scrambling. I couldn't think of anything. That's good.
Yum, yum. It's time for a tasty and refreshing snack. We promise to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, your sweet tooth. So visit our refreshment center now. Let's go.
And we're back. We peed in the yard. I think most of us. Joey's going to camel it till the end of the show, I think. Let me know how you feel around hour 3.
I'll slip out if I have to.
All right, we're going down to the bottom half of the bracket. We're at number 3, The Great Santini versus number 14, Open Range. Great Santini, 1979, 95% Rotten Tomatoes. Louis John Carlino, Robert Duvall, Blythe Danner, Michael O'Keefe, Lisa Jane Persky, and Julie Ann Haddock. Marine pilot Bull Meacham is a warrior without a war, struggling to adapt in peacetime life while running his family like a military unit. The film centers on the volatile relationship between the domineering Bull and his eldest son, who seeks his father's love while resisting his tyranny. Duvall's performance captures the terrifying intensity and hidden vulnerability of a man who only knows how to command.
So The Great Santini is based on a book by Pat Conroy. Lieutenant Colonel Bull Meacham is based entirely on his own father, Donald Conroy, a Marine fighter pilot who referred to himself in the third person as the Great Santini. After the novel was published, Donald Conroy would often accompany his son to book signings and would autograph his son's novels with Donald Conroy, the Great Santini.
It's going up against Open Range, 2003, 79% Rotten Tomatoes, directed by Kevin Costner, starring Robert Duvall, Kevin Costner, Annette Bening, Michael Gambon, and Michael Jeter. 2 free-grazing cattlemen find themselves in a violent conflict with a corrupt land baron in a small frontier town. As the harassment escalates into murder, the herdsmen are forced to abandon their peaceful ways and take up arms for justice. Duvall stars as Boss Spearman, the veteran leader of the group whose unwavering moral code and grit drive the film's climax.
So originally, Touchstone Pictures had Kevin Costner top billed over Robert Duvall, but Costner asked the studio to top bill Duvall instead. I liked Open Range more than expected. The western vistas were just gorgeous, and Costner intentionally went out and scouted locations where you couldn't see a fence or another person.
Tatanka.
Yes.
I enjoyed Open Range more than I thought I would.
Right.
Yep. I watched it this morning.
I think that the gunfight was probably one of the more creative gunfights I've ever seen.
And Joey I was talking about this last night, and I told Joey, I was like, I got to watch Open Range in the morning, and he said, "Oh, that final scene's like surprisingly really good." And
the scene where Costner busts through the wall of that building and like takes out that dude, and then Duvall at the end is like a really well done gunfight. However, it kind of plays like inspired by the events of Unforgiven is the way the movie felt to me.
It's a pretty standard Western.
Right.
It
drags
very
a
much
bit
a
too.
Kevin Costner Western, but I'll even go one step further than what you guys said. That final climactic scene, which lasts a long time, it's like the last 30 or 40 minutes of the movie, is one of the better gunfight climaxes in the Western genre, and that's saying something.
I would even go so far as to say it's probably one of the better gunfights in action sequences. It was good.
Very well done.
Like I was really, really pumped by the end of this thing, and
The problem is it's kind of long, and up until those last 30
It's a little slow.
A little slow, and also a little derivative.
it definitely has the "I hate you" and here's why.
Yes.
And then, oh boy, I'm gonna get you. You know, that kind of
Correct. Yeah.
That being said, the great Santini is sticking with me.
Oh man,
Well, that's one of the iconic Duvall roles, I would say.
And the role that he plays is such an insufferable prick.
God, he's awful.
He epitomizes all the stereotypes of the domineering military dad.
I knew kids growing up whose fathers were the great Santini.
My dad was a military dad, and he was not to this degree by any means as strict, but you could see little shades of that.
I knew those kids whose dad was the "it's my way or the highway" kind of guys.
Yep.
And he plays that to the hilt. And it's not just that he's domineering and an asshole, but he's
Probably was mentally ill because he seemed
possibly.
yeah.
But he plays it as it's justified.
Yes.
This is just the way it is. It is because it is. And so in a way, you kind of have a little bit of contempt for him just because he's a dick, but in his mind, he's right.
It also
In a
kind
way-
of
He's immovable.
I was gonna say, to me, it kind of reads as prescient too, because like, you know, we think of that kind of mentality as something in the past, but like here in the MAGA era, there's a lot of dudes like these manosphere motherfuckers and whatnot who are doubling down on that shit.
Yeah, they want to bring that shit back.
in a sense, he's a little bit similar to the Javier Bardem character from No Country for Old Men, in the sense that they both have moralities that most of us would find to be despicable, but to them, they have a moral order that to them makes sense and that they're strict about and that they stick to.
He has his reasons.
Yes.
You may not
It's not
agree with those
chaotic,
reasons,
correct.
but he does have his
We
reasons.
can't gloss over why this is the greatest movie in the bracket.
because
David Keith gets stung in the face by bees, attacked by dogs.
I did not even realize that was David Keith, the racist redheaded
Redneck.
guy. I really liked Tumor.
Yeah.
And while I'm watching it, I'm like, where do I fucking know this guy from? He's a great big black guy, beautiful smile, and I racking my brain, and finally it came to me. He's in Fried Green Tomatoes. He's the guy who cooks up the barbecue in the quote unquote barbecue in Fried Green Tomatoes.
And then, of course, the other is that this was all shot in Beaufort, South Carolina, near us. So that is a point in its favor.
Yeah, and Pat Conroy is a South Carolina author. Spoilers: the great Santini dies in his fighter plane, and I was not sad that he died. There's a scene where the son, who also plays the main character in Caddyshack.
Yes.
By the way, he's Danny, right?
Yeah, he's Danny.
Do you do
Yeah.
drugs, Danny? Every day, sir.
Every day, sir.
He's crying on his mom. Is that Blythe Danner is the mom?
Yeah.
And he's crying on her shoulder, saying that he prayed for his father to die in a plane crash, and he feels terrible about it. And he asks, why did he have to die for me to be free? And she says, no. You were free the day you went out there to help your friend Tumor, even though you were ordered not to.
Yeah.
I just thought that was
It
great.
was good shit.
And this is a credit to Duvall and his performance. Yes, that character, the Santini, was an asshole. However, there are moments. 10% of the character, though, is like kind of tender moments with the son that I think kind of complicates the character to a degree, but makes it so it's just not purely villainous.
Yeah,
He's,
yeah.
you know.
He's complex in
Right.
that regard.
They also had me with white people being good at basketball.
Well, you've seen Hoosiers,
Yeah,
of course.
exactly.
All right.
And white men can't jump.
So let's put it to a vote. What are we looking at for this bracket?
I got great Santini.
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 I'm going to go... If we had to sit down and watch one of these movies again right now, I definitely want to watch Open Range.
Oh, it's entertaining.
Yeah.
Entertaining movie, no doubt.
I'm going to go with The Great Santini, though, just because I think Robert Duvall's presence in it is more.
All right.
Okay.
All right, next up, we've got number 11, THX 1138 versus Network. THX 1138 is from 1971, 83% Rotten Tomatoes score, directed by George Lucas, starring Robert Duvall, Donald Pleasance, Don Pedro Colley, and Maggie McComey. In a dystopian future where human emotions and procreation are outlawed by a drug-controlled state, a man named THX 1138 stops taking his medication. He soon discovers the reality of love and physical sensation, leading him to attempt a daring escape from the subterranean city. Duvall plays the title character in this stark experimental vision of a totalizing technological society.
The sounds of the police motorcycles are the sped-up sounds of women screaming together in a tiled bathroom.
It's going up against Network, 1976, 90% Rotten Tomatoes, directed by Sidney Lumet. Faye Dunaway, William Holden, Peter Finch, Robert Duvall, Wesley Addy. When a veteran news anchor has a mental breakdown on air, his ratings skyrocket, prompting a cynical television network to exploit the mad prophet persona for profit. The film is a biting satire of the media industry and the commodification of public outrage. Duvall plays Frank Hackett, a ruthless corporate executive willing to sacrifice any journalistic ethics for the bottom line.
According to Sidney Lumet, the mad as hell speech was filmed in 1.5 takes. Midway through the second take, Peter Finch abruptly stopped in exhaustion. Lumet was unaware of Finch's failing heart at the time, but in any case did not ask for a third take. The complete film features the second half of the first take and the first half of the second take.
So I'm going to say that Network was even more prescient. Like, it's still prescient, even though the media formats have changed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
The commodification of outrage that you alluded to, this is what social media is built on. Its entire advertising model, its entire algorithmic model is built on getting people pissed off and getting them
absolutely.
to... You know,
as I was watching in preparation for this episode, it had been a good 10 years or more since I had seen Network.
Same.
And heck, I would even wager it's probably more like 20 years since I had seen Network. And as I'm watching it, I'm looking at the outlandish characters that they're rolling out during their news hour with the fortune teller, and there was all these random personalities that made no sense whatsoever, and they were just over the top crazy. And I'm like, I'm watching the lineup for Fox News.
Peter Finch's character could be Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, it's just these characters who are just meant to be eye-catching enough to catch your interest for their segment, and outlandish enough and then outrageous enough in their opinion to get your ire up. And then it becomes like what we're seeing today, these echo chambers of just confirmation bias. You pick your flavor of your 24-hour news cycle that suits your DNA. And that's what we have today. So I'm like watching this movie going, holy shit, they really predicted what we were going to head for.
And then you have the cynical corporate leadership who recognize it and then play into it and manipulate it for the commodification purposes.
Duvall at all cost was just answering to his corporate handlers.
Yes.
And that's all he cared about. There was no gray area for him.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned social media, and it makes me wonder if at all the name of your movie you discussed last time, The Social Network, was at all a reference to this movie, or is it just the fact that they are networks?
I mean, those movies are certainly
there's some parallels.
They're in the same
What about THX? What are we?
Well, I was going to say THX to me is most notable as being a pre-Star Wars George Lucas.
Mm-hmm. It's his first
production, and lending its name to
the audio,
groundbreaking audio system. THX is an okay movie, but I feel like those themes that it explores with this kind of technocratic dystopia where people have been dehumanized gets explored way better in other stories.
I liked it better when it was called Logan's Run.
Logan's Run.
Or in book form as Brave New World.
Yeah, and later films like Gattaca.
Yeah.
Even. So things like that. So it's not a bad movie. I love the last scene when he finally climbs the ladder and he finally gets in. There's that. He breaks out into the real world and it's just this sparse kind of like red sunset. But other than that, THX 1138 is kind of boring.
I mean,
it's kind of a slog.
Yeah, I enjoyed it overall. I didn't love it, but like you said though, that is a tough genre to distinguish yourself in because there are just so many good dystopian. I mean, even something like
and
WALL-E.
So many limitations.
Yeah, correct. Even something like WALL-E.
Yeah, Network all the way for me.
Yeah, Network, 100%.
I wrote down Network and then I crossed it out and wrote down THX because and not even because it's George Lucas, but because Robert Duvall is the star of the movie.
True.
It's a Robert Duvall movie, whereas as great as the movie Network is, and don't get me wrong, it is a great movie, it's not his movie.
Okay.
The bigger roles belong to other people, and the story itself is one of an ensemble. So I'm going with THX.
I'm going to go Network. I'm going to go Network because of the character that he plays. The archetype comes back later on in this discussion in the first round. I think that he did a fine job, even though he wasn't.
And earlier,
the
this
star.
character is very similar to the journalist from The Natural.
There's a
amorality.
There's a review on Letterboxd of THX 1138 which says, "How far will a man go to avoid being Donald Pleasance's roommate?" And Donald Pleasance's character is like just so off-putting in this movie. So I kind of
All right. Our next matchup is going to be the number 7 seed, The Apostle, versus the number 10 seed, Get Low. The Apostle, 1997, 88% Rotten Tomatoes, directed by Robert Duvall, written by Robert Duvall, starring Robert Duvall, Farrah Fawcett, Billy Bob Thornton, June Carter Cash, and Miranda Richardson. A charismatic Pentecostal preacher, Sonny Dewey, flees Texas after committing a violent crime of passion and settles in a small Louisiana town, renaming himself the Apostle E.F., and starts a new church in search of personal redemption while grappling with his past. Duvall wrote, directed, and starred in this deep dive into the complexities of faith and sin.
He actually wrote it back in the 80s and couldn't get it produced for a long time. But Billy Bob Thornton's small role was a kind turn to Robert Duvall, who had played his father for free in Sling Blade in 1996.
Which we omitted from the bracket, among others that we chose not to feature for various reasons. Most likely things that we discussed in other episodes or just the size of the role. So it's going up against Get Low from 2009, 84% Rotten Tomatoes, directed by Aaron Schneider, Robert Duvall, Sissy Spacek, Bill Murray, Lucas Black, and Gerald McRaney. In 1930s Tennessee, a mysterious hermit named Felix Bush decides to throw his own funeral party while he is still alive so he can hear what people say about him. As the event approaches, the dark secrets of his past begin to surface, revealing the reason for his decades of self-imposed isolation. Duvall anchors the film as Felix, delivering a performance defined by weathered grit and buried grief.
The story is partly derived from a real funeral party thrown by Felix Bushelu Brazil for himself in Cave Creek, Tennessee in 1938.
The Apostle is got to be a dark horse in this category. I'm not saying that I'm not signaling anything here. However, this is the ultimate Robert Duvall movie. Yeah. He wrote it. He directed in it. He starred in it. And it is a really good movie, I think. I wouldn't say it's necessarily the best movie in the bracket, but it is an excellent film where he plays a complex character that's very familiar to me, where sometimes you feel like it's a character who's a grifter, but then other times you're like, no, he's actually believes this stuff.
Right.
And that kind of complicates the character.
The tagline for the movie is, in the end, the only person he couldn't save was himself.
Yeah. That opening scene is great where he kicks the shit out of the guy on the baseball field. I think I like that way. A device is kind of a way to kind of get into the film. So this is going to be the movie I pick in this category, obviously. Get Low, I thought was solid. I mean, Joey and I watched it together, but my attention kind of waned in and out, frankly. I did like it. And it is another one of the other movies where he's like a central presence in the movie, and he does a good job at it, playing this sort of former hermit character. The consistency of it, like he seems way more outgoing than I would expect a hermit to be. I don't know how. I mean, maybe that's accurate to the source material, but regardless, I enjoyed it. But the Apostle for me moves on.
This one was interesting to me because when it showed up on the bracket, Todd began gushing about it because he loved it from way back in the day, and then I saw Shawn's review of it, and Shawn kind of hated it.
Get Low?
No, The Apostle.
The Apostle. Okay.
But Shawn noted some things about it that were technical things. Like in your Letterboxd review, you said that like the Foley sound is terrible because there's like squalling tires. On
Who
a dirt
squeals a
road
tire
or
on a
whatever.
dirt road?
Nerd alert!
I full disclosure, I did not rewatch The Apostle. I saw it probably a decade or more, probably more ago. And I liked it a lot at the time. It reminded me of like a Flannery O'Connor kind of like Southern Gothic religious kind of thing.
Yeah.
But at that time when I watched it, I probably wasn't as aware of and as cognizant of like the technical aspects of movie making as I am now after talking to you guys for the past 5 years doing this podcast or whatever.
It's do-it-yourself charm.
So I wonder if I watched it again, if those kind of things that rankled Shawn would have rankled me.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's a good question.
Get Low is a very well-made movie. Like Todd, I was a little bit underwhelmed by the story. I felt like it hit every single note that I thought it was going to hit.
Yeah, no surprises.
And I think I'm gonna give The Apostle the nod because of Duvall writing, directing.
Yeah. Same here. The Apostle moves forward. There's nothing wrong with Get Low, and if it was pitted up against something else, it may have advanced.
Yeah.
But I think that the Apostle takes this one, like for those same reasons. He wrote it, he directed it, he wrote it for himself.
Yep.
You know.
I came into this fully expecting to cheer on the Apostle just based on what I had heard about it, but Joey outlined a few of the issues I had with the Apostle, and I think that I have to stay focused and say, am I basing this on Duvall's performance in the movie versus Duvall's writing and directing? And my thought about this movie is I think Duvall spread himself too thin.
Okay.
It's a passion project, it's a vanity project, and there are issues I have with the movie itself that aren't related to Duvall's performance. So I'll put all that aside that I said in my review and say, as a performance, he's fine.
It's not as bad as Michael Flatley's
project,
Blackbird, which we all.
But on Get Low, as I said in my review as well, I did not enjoy Get Low when I watched it the first time, but I think it's because the studio mismanaged the promotion of it, largely because they hyped Bill Murray, and it led me to think that it was going to be a quirky comedy. And it wasn't.
It's not.
It's not. So watching it on a second viewing, I enjoyed it immensely more, and I found the strangeness of this self-imposed exile versus being a hermit. He was a hermit because he took himself out of the picture. Okay. And there's something to be said about that when you just don't fit into a scenario and you feel like you've done something wrong. And so I appreciated that aspect of the movie on my second viewing. However, I'll let you guys have the Apostle for now, and I'll attack it later. That brings us to
the second round,
the final, the final one in the bracket. We're talking about number 15's Falling Down versus Godfather 1 and 2 grouped together. Falling Down, 1993, 75% on Rotten Tomatoes, directed by Joel Schumacher, starring Michael Douglas, Robert Duvall, Barbara Hershey, and Rachel Ticotin? I can't pronounce her name. And Frederick Forrest, by the way, as the Nazi shop owner.
Yeah.
A frustrated defense worker snaps in the middle of a Los Angeles traffic jam and begins a violent trek across the city to attend his daughter's birthday party. While the man wreaks havoc on those he deems unfair, a veteran police officer on his final day before retirement tries to track him down. Duvall plays Detective Pendergrast, the emphatic investigator who provides a moral counterpoint to the protagonist's rage.
The man who is yelling about being, quote, not economically viable in front of the bank is wearing the same clothes as Foster. Even the tie pattern is the same.
It's going against The Godfather 1 and 2, 1972 and 1974. The higher of the two, Rotten Tomatoes score is 96.5%. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola, starring Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, Robert Duvall, James Caan, Diane Keaton, etc., etc., etc. This epic saga follows the Corleone family as it transitions from the aging patriarch Vito to his reluctant youngest son Michael. Spanning decades and continents, the story explores the dark side of the American dream and the corrosive nature of power. Duvall stars as Tom Hagen, the family's loyal consigliere, the adopted son who serves as the calm legal brain behind their operations.
The cat held by Marlon Brando in the opening scene was a stray that Coppola found while on the lot at Paramount Pictures and was not originally called for in the script. So content was the cat that its purring muffled some of Brando's dialogue, and as a result, most of his lines had to be redubbed.
I think we could have just gone with Godfather 2 because Duvall's character is not quite as prominent in 1 as I recall. It's number 2 where he's more prominent.
Yeah, but he is.
Although if you lump them together,
but his role, he as a thread through the whole thing.
Yeah,
he is the calm, cold, collected anchor in that family. And
we think.
Yeah.
Which is why Part 2 is so brilliant.
Yeah, but largely he's presented as somebody who's keeping all of the chaos pulled in, because without him there, that turns into a complete and utter shit show.
Right. So as a cinephile, I only watched Godfather Part 2 for the first time last year, and the first one probably 3 to 4 years before that. So they're pretty fresh in my mind. So I actually love both of those movies and his performances in them. For some of the reasons Shawn mentioned, his role is central, particularly in Part 2, but in terms of he's a fulcrum for the Corleone family, but then also ends up being a traitor, right? So there's but being, he doesn't see it as being a traitor exactly. He thinks that he's keeping
for the greater good.
For the greater good, correct. Both of these are great films. And then, of course, Falling Down, I had last seen about 20 to 25 years ago. And when I saw it in my early 20s, I loved it. And that was my memory of it. When I watched it this time, I was less impressed. It was the tone I just wasn't crazy about. I thought it was a little inconsistent. And it was a little too on the nose. You referenced one of the scenes about the guy yelling out, "I'm not economically viable." A little on the nose. So anyway, Godfather, moving on.
Joey?
This one to me is pretty easy just because of the cultural cachet. It's the fucking Godfather.
Right.
So,
yeah,
no brainer for me.
Well, if you ask my lovely wife, Michelle, she would say, I found the Godfather mid. I told her that was a hot take.
That's a hot take.
That is a hot take, yeah.
Godfather 2 is better, I would say.
I'm a huge fan of Falling Down. It's one of the few Schumacher movies that I like of his.
It's his least flamboyant movie.
Extremely least flamboyant, but
true.
there are some excellent choices in this movie, and this has nothing to do with Duvall, but I love the fact that he starts out dressed as the White Knight, and by the end of the film, he's in total black, and it's reflective of the complete character shift. The thing that I can't argue is that Duvall's role is essentially the I'm too old for this shit, last day on the job archetype for a police officer. There are some interesting things about his performance, though. His partner, the Latina girl, she's clearly into him in an age gap kind of daddy figure kind of way, and it's not even mentioned, but it's clear that there's a chemistry between the two. And then the other fun fact about this movie is look into the actress who plays Duvall's wife. She has one of the most interesting career paths in Hollywood. She was essentially child trafficked as a young girl through the modeling industry, and you want to talk about Epstein files and that kind of shit. Look into her history, and it's terrifying. And the fact that she was still acting at that age is amazing. But anyway, I'll let Godfather go through because as Tom Hagen, he was fantastic. He is the calm before the storm in that movie.
Agreed, Godfather.
All right, very good. Okay. Here's where we start to pick up steam. We're going to kick it in high gear with round 2. We are looking at Rambling Rose versus the Rain People.
So we're just going to run through this one.
We're going to go through and argue it.
This one's easy for me. Is Rose? Rain People is an okay movie, but I think that Rose is just better. Not only does Duvall have a more significant presence in it, it's just a better film.
Yeah, same. Rambling Rose, just a better film, more interesting film because of some of the controversies we referenced earlier. More prominent Duvall role. Rambling Rose.
I'm also going with Rambling Rose because I did pick it in its primary matchup. I did not pick Rain People.
All right. Next set of brackets will be The Natural versus Tender Mercies.
Ooh, this is tough because these are two movies that you could put, on a Saturday evening matinee. Mm-hmm. God, I think I'm gonna go with Tender Mercies. It's tough, but Crazy Heart though is clearly number one, building off of the Tender Mercy model, and number two, it's just a more prominent role for Duvall.
If the movie was made 15 years earlier and Robert Duvall played Roy Hobbs, it might get the nod over Tender Mercies because it would be a Robert Duvall picture.
Yep.
Tender Mercies is a Robert Duvall picture and a very good one at that. Tender Mercies for me.
It's Tender Mercies for me.
Then I guess my vote is moot.
So you were.
I will decline to vote on this one because I love both those movies.
Okay. Recuse yourself. All right, then we are going up against the great Santini and Network. A deep intake of breath.
This one epitomizes the whole Robert Duvall's presence.
Correct.
Because in a lot of these films, he has very significant but small roles. But in the Santini, that's arguably his movie.
If by that logic, then the Santini should advance.
Yeah. And actually, I'll go ahead and say I like Network better and think it's a better film. However, I think this Great Santini is a really good movie, and it's also just a more prominent Duvall role, and it's one of the roles he's remembered by. So
he's on the poster.
Santini, yes.
Yeah, I would consider Santini to be a Robert Duvall movie. I don't consider Network to be a Robert Duvall movie. I see it's an ensemble movie.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
All right, then the next will be The Apostle versus Godfather.
And so again, The Apostle is a Robert Duvall movie. The Godfather is an ensemble. He plays a very important role in The Godfather, but he plays the title role in The Apostle.
Yes, but it's the Godfather.
Yeah.
And we talked last episode. You argued that Star Wars got robbed at the Oscars.
Your own words come back to haunt you.
So I just feel like... So you argued
you're talking about the cultural impact.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it would be hard to find a film that has a bigger, other than Star Wars, that has a bigger cultural impact than The Godfather. Name one.
Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension.
It is the granddaddy of the mob genre. I mean, mobsters appeared in movies back to the film
if
noir
you like
area, but
Casino,
Big Lebowski,
Goodfellas,
Big Lebowski for hipster culture.
Without
there'd be no Sopranos. There'd be no exactly. Okay. So for that reason, just for the cultural cachet, and it is an ensemble cast, but I think I'm going to go with The Godfather here.
So this is going to throw it to Shawn to see if we're going to tie or move on to another round, because I'm going to agree with Travis that this is the ultimate Duvall movie, that being The Apostle. So as great as The Godfather is, particularly Part 2 as a Duvall vehicle, I just think, as Travis said, it's ensemble versus auteur with The Apostle. So I'm going with The Apostle.
He's on the poster.
I think The Apostle is a problematic film that's deeply flawed, and people give him too much credit for doing that. Somebody compared Duvall's character in The Apostle to Marty Mauser
in Marty Supreme.
And they're not wrong. They're very similar.
And you two are both haters on Marty Supreme, right?
You don't
No, I'm okay with Marty Supreme.
I'm a hater in order to like the movie.
That's true.
Yeah.
The other problem I have with this movie, and this again goes into the beyond the performance, the look of the movie is so late 90s. It hurts. The music is so late 90s. It's just
sound problems.
It's the sound problems. Yeah.
Do it yourself charm.
But it's just not. It's not all that. And I'm in the camp with Joey. I think The Godfather is the winner in the bracket.
So we have to go.
So we're going to have to go to IA. AI.
There is no
sorry.
AI on this. We're going to have to call. We're going to have to phone a friend.
Oh, using our phone a friend.
This is old school. What was the phone a friend? What was the game show that did that?
Yeah,
Who wants to be a millionaire?
Yeah, go ahead.
A few moments later.
Seeing as we are at a deadlock, we have phoned a friend and we've called my lovely wife, Allie.
Hi.
We are at a deadlock on two films, Allie. We are talking about The Apostle, which was written and directed and stars Robert Duvall, and it's going up against The Godfather 1 and 2. So, gentlemen, please state your case.
Oh, real quick, while he said that, when you think of The Godfather 1 and 2, can you picture who Robert Duvall played in those movies?
Isn't he Consigliere?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Isn't he Consigliere?
Yes, he is.
So basically, the consensus is that you have the cultural cachet of The Godfather, which is undoubtedly one of, if not,
the biggest movies ever.
Ever, yeah, certainly in the mobster genre. But in which Robert Duvall has a relatively small part in an ensemble cast.
An important part, especially in Godfather 2, but a small part.
But The Apostle is
his
very
vanity
much
project.
his passion
Supporting
project.
role.
Supporting role, yes. And then the Apostle, yes, he's
He
the
wrote,
auteur and
directed,
actor.
and
He's
starred.
beyond the auteur. He is also starring.
He plays
in it.
this Depression era evangelist who has a crime of passion and escapes and goes to Louisiana and becomes a radio evangelist, and the long arm of the law finally catches up to him.
Yeah, because he beat
he
beat a guy to death on a baseball field at the beginning of the movie, which was great.
We have Duvall with his apostle role, where he is the spearhead of the entire operation, and then of course The Godfather 1 and 2, where he plays, as you understood, the consigliere role. The argument would be that being the apostle is a true Robert Duvall project, carries a lot of weight. He is good in it.
And with this bracket, are we asking what is the best movie or what is the best Robert Duvall movie?
Yes, correct.
As I understand, the episode is about Robert Duvall and Robert Duvall movies. My inclination is to lean toward The Apostle because it is quintessential Robert Duvall. But the flip side of that argument is the other role is a bit more iconic and well known, and when people think of Robert Duvall, they're going to think of The Godfather.
It should be noted. It should be noted that earlier, the more iconic Altman role in that, or Altman, I keep doing it. Duvall role, being Apocalypse Now, lost out to the preferred juicy role of Tender Mercies. So just keep that in mind that we've already.
But in that, it's also Tender Mercies being the actual Robert Duvall movie versus Apocalypse Now being
that's
a
also
role.
You're going to use that.
But
logic.
we kind of have. But if we're going to use logic, we have both.
To me, it's a sliding scale. So yeah, his importance of his role in the film and in the production is important, but you have to measure that against the quality of the film too.
So that was going to be one of my questions. Oftentimes when someone writes and directs and stars, we tend to call that a vanity project. And sometimes you're so close to the material, it's challenging to have a higher quality of film in itself because you don't have the objectivity to make the big decisions to improve the film.
And that's my argument against The Apostle.
And that's that's the challenge for me because
I would argue more do-it-yourself charm.
I have seen the Godfather films. I have not seen The Apostle. Here's a question. Without the cultural cachet of Godfather, which well earned, if that was not in the picture, what is our opinion of The Apostle as a film on its own?
Oh, The Godfather's better.
Yeah,
well, I'm sure it's better.
Sure.
I'm not asking which is better. I'm asking if you were just evaluating The Apostle as a film on its own, where would you put it? Would you watch it again?
Yeah, I'll put it this way. I've seen that film multiple times. I've only seen The Godfather 1 and 2 once apiece.
I would never watch The Apostle again.
I would watch it again.
I think I've stated my case.
I said The Godfather's better.
Which one would you rush to watch again if you had to? If you could only watch one again, would you say?
Oh, Godfather.
Yeah.
The other thing is, okay, so here's another little.
I don't believe you.
Here's another little wrinkle. So we're looking at Godfather 1 and 2.
Right.
Is that because you need the breadth of both films to have the extension of his role, or because the role is so similar you can't really separate the two?
I've seen both of the. Yeah, they're both. It's
the
very
same role.
small.
Yeah. I just didn't want to seed The Godfather in twice in the bracket and screw everything up, so I just counted it as one.
Because it is the same role.
But it's much smaller in one.
It's not about...
Yeah, he's bigger in two.
He's bigger in two.
So we're not trying to build the scale of the role by confining the films. It's the fact that it's the single character.
Yep.
This is purely about the logic of it. It is a Robert Duvall episode. I'm going to go with The Apostle.
Get out! Get out! We are fighting.
Wow. So Apocalypse Now goes out in the first round, and The Godfather goes out in the second round. Wow.
Thank you for your feedback, and you're welcome to stay through the duration.
Am I?
Yes.
Yes. We're not fighting. All right, so for anybody worried, we're not fighting. All right, we're moving on to the final four. We've got Rambling Rose versus Tender Mercies.
Ooh. Tender Mercies.
Tender Mercies.
Tender Mercies. I like Rambling Rose a lot, but again, as a Duvall picture, Tender Mercies is all the way.
Enjoyed Rambling Rose, but yeah, Tender
It's also
Mercies.
a really good Grateful Dead song.
Interesting that we have the meat of the final four movies. These are all the heavier Robert Duvall roles.
And
as it should be.
Yeah. I think that works.
Less of his supporting roles, which is very typical of his career, though. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so we're looking at The Great Santini versus The Apostle.
Santini.
Apostle.
I'm going to go Santini. That movie sticks with me.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Still hate that fucker, which is good.
Also, there's no basketball in The Apostle.
And
there is baseball.
And
David
David Keith dies in Santini, which is great.
Yep.
Yeah, with really bad bee stings on his face.
Why do we hate David Keith again?
He's an
He's
asshole.
a piece of shit.
He's a piece of shit.
Not to be confused with Keith David.
Oh, Keith
who is
David's
a
great.
Treasure.
He's a saint. All right, the final matchup that you've all been waiting for is going to be Tender Mercies versus The Great Santini.
Ooh, this is tough.
I'm going Tender Mercies here just because I fucking love that movie.
It's so good.
Both of these are very much Robert Duvall's movies.
Yeah.
Tender Mercies is a superior film, I think. That whole just windswept Texas thing, I like it. I love it a lot.
Yeah, and I think one of the criticisms I read about Tender Mercy was it was too episodic, but that's actually one of the things I like about it. The episodic nature of it, but that adds up to a great film. Tender Mercies for me.
Both movies stuck with me, but for different reasons. And I think that the reasons that Tender Mercies stuck with me are far more positive in nature than The Great Santini. I was angry after watching The Great Santini, but it still stuck with me. Tender Mercies was tender. So yeah, Tender
it's
Mercies
right there
for me.
in the name.
And merciful.
Yes.
And merciful.
I was going to say Tender Mercies as well, so it is unanimous.
Wow.
The greatest Robert Duvall movie of all time is Tender Mercies.
Hell yeah.
I think
I'm happy with that
was
outcome.
Probably his best.
He won the Oscar for it.
Yeah.
That's one
Best
case where the
performance,
Oscars got it right. Yes, it is the best Robert Duvall movie of all time. Rest in peace, rest in power. Thank
and
you
at least
for
three of us are country boys.
Duvology.
Kind of.
Yeah,
Well,
Duvology. Thank you
you're half
for
a country
your
boy.
gigantic body of work, sir, where you were old from the day you were born.
Uh-huh.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for enduring the Robert Duvall episode with us. We appreciate you waiting the extra week for us to put this together. We had a lot of movies to watch and review. Coming up, we are going to do a film dedicated to VHS culture. We're talking about movies that showcase video stores, video rentals, videotapes.
This is up my back. When you would go to a gas station and they would have a VHS rental section.
So films where the VHS format and or the VHS business plays heavily in the film. That's coming up for us in a couple of weeks. In the meantime, please rate, review, subscribe. If you have a friend who likes film, tell them about the show. Maybe they'll like it too. We could use the numbers and grow the fam. Tell your friends that you love them, love your neighbor, do kind things for people, and just be good folks. We need it more than ever. And
if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all.
That's right. And please remember,
especially if you're the President of the United States.
I wasn't going to say that, but okay. And please remember to
watch, chop, retrofit.